incredible run here for Suarez, but realistically speaking, Corbin Burns out, Corbin Carroll is out right now. This is not a contending team, especially in that division where you've got the Dodgers and the Padres and the Giants. It's just too much to bear. The Diamondbacks would be smart to let Jordan Lawler play every day, see what he is, and then probably move on from Suarez.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
And there's this one guy that's popping for me. It's like Tillinghast, Bomber's Paradise, Get Hot with the Putter, Northeast New York Horse. Like, I know a guy that fits that profile pretty well that won a pretty big tournament at Wingfoot. Like, this is this like perfect for Bryson?
It's perfect for Bryson.
Wow.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
I do believe that SJ now is the number one player in the world. The things that he can do from the point of attack, offensively and defensively, his ability to drive downhill and score at all three levels. And the thing about I like most about this young man at 26, he's so humble. He's so humble. And that speaks to the whole culture of OKC that Sam Presti and Mark Daigneault has built. Humble team, folks.
Betting above the rim, only on Sport.
Good morning. Welcome to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mish. Great to be back with you. It's our Tuesday edition of the show. Plenty to cover here on the program with a groundbreaking deal in the National Basketball Association. We'll talk big money for the most valuable player in just a minute. We'll also dive into the latest basketball headlines. Of course, free agency is going on. We got Dexter Henry in the house for the latest on that. Joe Madden checks in with the Stanley Cup Finals in the rearview mirror. Believe it or not, hockey season just around the corner again. Talk about some free agents with Joe a little bit later on the show. And speaking of Joe, we've got another Joe here on the show. Joe Pisapia will join us. We'll talk some Major League Baseball as well. But let's start off with the sports betting story of the day. That would include the company otherwise known, as you may know, as Underdog. Right now, feels like Underdog is trying to fight back against the state of California. They've asked the Sacramento Superior Court to stop the Attorney General from releasing his opinion on the legality of daily fantasy. Naturally, California is coming after Underdog and a lot of these companies saying cease, desist, don't operate. Lawsuit filed on Monday, first reported by SBC Americas. Underdog's 10% of their business comes from the state of California. They say that they want to stay. State of California says you got to go. Someone's got to win that battle. We'll see who it ends up being. Meanwhile, Fanatics Sportsbook, just like DraftKings, just like FanDuel, has decided that they're going to institute their own tax on sports bettors in the state of Illinois. 50% was those numbers in DraftKings' mind, FanDuel's mind. Fanatics, at least, is only asking for 25 cents. The Illinois per bet transaction fee for licensed sports betting operators begins today, and Fanatics is jumping in the fray. As I mentioned, the biggest contract in the history of the NBA is now official. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, get this, folks, has agreed to a 4-year, $285 million Supermax contract. Let me say that again, $285 million. That does not seem like a lot. But over 4 years, folks, that's $71 million a year. That's the richest annual salary for a player in league history. If I'm not mistaken, in American sports, it could be the highest AAV as well. Congrats to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. All right, trades in the NBA. Denver Nuggets are trading Michael Porter Jr. and an unprotected 2032 first-round pick to the Brooklyn Nets. In return, it is Cam Johnson going back. So certainly Michael Porter Jr. goes to Brooklyn. We'll see what ends up happening with his future in his new location in New York. And also the Memphis Grizzlies and All-Star Jaren Jackson Jr., they're agreeing on a 5-year deal, $240 million maximum renegotiation and extension. So the thought that process that Memphis could be in rebuilding mode does not seem to be the case. Trades in the NBA forthcoming. The Atlanta Hawks are acquiring Nickeil Alexander-Walker from the Minnesota Timberwolves. It's a sign and trade, and he will get 4 years and $62 million from the Atlanta Hawks. As part of the deal, Atlanta will send a second-round pick in 2027 and cash to Minnesota. Brook Lopez will continue to play a couple more seasons in the NBA. He signs a 2-year, $18 million contract with the Clippers, 13 points, 5 rebounds last season. Rockets, Dorian Finney-Smith, 4 years, $53 million. And also Jordan Clarkson is going to sign with the Knicks, apparently. 16 points, 3.7 assists for the Jazz. So the Knicks get a little bit better going into next season. No need to get a little bit better for Zach Wheeler. This guy's been untouchable over the last few months. Again, in Major League Baseball, the Phillies rely on him, and he comes through. 8 shutout innings, and the Phillies beat the Padres. Final score of 4-0. Wheeler right in the mix for the National League Cy Young. Rob Thompson doesn't really have much more to say about his pitcher who could end up starting the All-Star game in a couple of weeks.
He's got an extra day coming, so he was really efficient. I mean, what can you say about him? He's just been phenomenal the entire month. I would think that either him or Ranger are going to be pitcher of the month, I would think. So, yeah, just efficient, strike throwing ability, command, velocity, had it all.
When you talk about his stats in June, 31 innings, 2 earned, 42 strikeouts. When you hear those numbers, what do you think?
I mean, it's phenomenal. I'm not sure if I've had a pitcher that, whether I'm coaching or managing, that has had a month like that. That was, maybe I have, but he was pretty much dominant the whole month.
The Arizona Diamondbacks get a big win yesterday after being swept by Miami. They win 4-2 over the San Francisco Giants. Ryan Nelson with a quality start in this one. Maybe could have went a little bit later into the game, but Torey Lovello ended up pulling the plug. They still end up winning, although he knows fans may not have been happy about that decision.
I know that I was the most unpopular man in the entire state of Arizona when I took out Ryan Nelson, but he exceeded his pitch count. I ran him out there as far as I could, and like I keep telling you guys, I know what Ryan Nelson deals with. I know what he wakes up like tomorrow, and we went above and beyond this pitch count. I know that you guys are going to probably ask me questions about why there is a pitch count. Maybe in chapter 13 of my book that I'm never going to write, I'll tell you why I follow the pitch count. I believe in it, and I want to protect these players. I want to protect these individuals who are like my children, and I just got to make sure that I keep Ryan Nelson healthy for the entire year. And I was willing to sacrifice what happened, knowing that there was a darn good chance it could happen. I'm not an idiot. I wanted to leave him in the game as bad as everybody else wanted me to leave him in the game. So I hated myself for doing it, but I had to. So we won a baseball game because we hit well and got stubborn in the right situations with some really good quality at-bats.
We got a really quality answer there from Torey Lovello postgame. Okay, not a quality month for the New York Yankees. A losing month. They lose to the Blue Jays as they turn the calendar to July. Final score 5-4 yesterday. Toronto scores 4 runs in the 6th inning. Here's Aaron Boone after a disappointing month for the Bombers.
It's your first losing month since July of last year, 13-14. But how would you sum up this month?
Yeah, I mean, not our best month. Obviously, we want to do better than that. But that said, it's part of it. It's part of the season. I think it really comes down to we had a really tough week, that lent itself to this record. So, we know we got to be a little bit better and feel like overall, we just got to find a way to finish some of these games.
Carlos.
I thought Carlos was pretty good. They made him work pretty hard. Drove up some counts, but overall, I thought he threw the ball well and, put us in a position to win a ball game.
Boston Red Sox continue their good June with an ending with Willie Abreu hitting 2 home runs and a grand slam. Red Sox beat the Cincinnati Reds. Final score of 13-5. Now let's get out west as the A's beat the Rays 6-4. Shea Langoliers a 3-run home run in his first plate appearance since coming off the injured list. So Sacramento gets a win over Tampa Bay. Again, 6-4 the final there. Another night, another home run for Cal Raleigh. He now has 33 on the season for Seattle, and they beat Kansas City last night as well. Gunnar Henderson drove in 4 runs in extra innings, and the Orioles beat the Rangers 10-6 in 11. Henderson had a 2-run homer in the 10th and a 2-run double in the 11th. And the Pirates stay hot. Andrew Heaney pitched a really good game yesterday. 7-0 the final as Pittsburgh ends up beating St. Louis. Also a new contract extension for a player that went to the NBA Finals this past year. Miles Turner, according to ESPN, is signing a 4-year contract with the Milwaukee Bucks worth over $107 million. So a new deal there. We'll get into the very latest in NBA free agency after we come back after the break. Dexter Henry will join us from the New York Post. We'll break it all down. And also for the very latest in sports wagering, including information on all of our streaming shows, you can download the SportsGrid app. Just take out your phone and scan this QR code. It's available for both iOS and Android. The SportsGrid app streaming 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Make sure you jump on board. And with the football season coming, this is going to be your one-stop shop for all of training camp news, notes, and information, and college football right around the corner next month as well. We'll be back with Dexter Henry from the Post talking some National Basketball Association free agency right after this. Don't go away.
We all know a night out at the club in Vegas can get a little bit pricey, but I've got a tip that can save you a cover fee at some of the hottest nightclubs. All you have to do is sign up online for free with a credible guest list service. Then, just show up before 10:30 and check right in. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
No way that I'm betting on the Cleveland Cavaliers for any reason whatsoever.
No.
Ever. Like, when they had LeBron James, it was a different story. I think Spider's great. He's no LeBron. I don't see him carrying them to a title. And I don't believe in the Knicks at all. The Knicks never get it done.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Kevin Durant, at the age of 36 years old, after 17 seasons that he has played in the NBA DRS, is now on his way to H-Town.
I don't think it's a great move. I wanted him to go to a ready-made championship team full of a veteran roster and see if he can ring chase that way. Not to go to an organization on the come-up that if you just stay the course, and also, what better blueprint do we have than just staying the course and safe, right?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of
15.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mish. We're joined now by Dexter Henry of the New York Post to talk about the latest in the National Basketball Association. We had plans to talk about a number of different moves, but we have one real hot right now, so let's get to it. Miles Turner, Dexter, 4 years, $107 million. Always really good to play in the spotlight when you're about to hit free agency because it certainly works out that way. Good message here, I think, by the Bucks. There was talk, we went probably about a month or two thinking Giannis had played his last game in Milwaukee and this is it, and they're going to trade him. And I guess that could still happen. It remains to be seen, but I find that hard to believe if this is what Milwaukee's planning on doing.
Yeah, if you're going to commit to Miles Turner with this kind of money, 4 years, $107 million, it doesn't seem like you would be trying to trade Giannis Antetokounmpo. But who knows? It's really interesting. The Bucks bringing a lot of guys back, bringing Bobby Portis back as well, Kevin Porter Jr., Gary Trent. Everybody's basically coming back. Brook Lopez going out to the LA Clippers. So this is a very interesting signing. It hurts the Pacers. Miles Turner was huge for them in terms of being able to space the floor. So this is really shocking. I wonder if the Pacers didn't want to spend as much on their team, knowing that Tyrese Halliburton is going to be out for all of next season. I wonder how much of that was a factor into this. So the Pacers are going to be looking a lot different after making it to Game 7 of the finals than they did last year. But if you're Milwaukee, you get another big who can help you stretch the floor, play some defense. I just still don't think that's enough for Milwaukee with the pieces they have, especially with Dame being out next year. So I'm a little bit shocked by this move. It was a stunner for me, especially teams don't have a lot of cap space right now in the NBA. I was a little shocked Milwaukee committed to Miles Turner here.
Yeah, well, it makes Milwaukee better. Also, this trade, interesting with Denver and Brooklyn. There seems to be a lot of polarizing opinions on this one here on both sides. Some people saying that, Brooklyn ends up winning, because they get the better player. There's some that feel that Cam Johnson is a better fit for what Denver's trying to do. A rare trade like this, player for player. What do you make of it?
Yeah, I think it's a win-win for both teams. I talked to some people, my colleague Brian Lewis here at the New York Post, who covers the Nets, and he told me, look, the Nets can probably make a trade like this where they can absorb some salary into their cap space. And this works perfectly for Denver. They get off of Michael Porter Jr.'s contract. They get a guy in Cam Johnson who can do very much similar things. Is a fantastic shooter, can help him stretch the floor, can play on the wing, cost a lot less, is cost controlled over the next 2 years. Yes, they had to give up a future first-round pick in 2032, but you save some money on that end. You're able to bring him in. And now if you're the Nets, you get a pick for the future when Denver likely will not be good. You bring in Michael Porter Jr., who can sort of be the face of your team right now. The Nets are not trying to be good. He can take a lot of his shots along with Cam Thomas if they bring him back. So it's fine for what the Nets are trying to do in the rebuild phase. They can probably even flip Michael Porter Jr. down the road. I think they would probably try to again. It wouldn't shock me if they tried to flip him either at the deadline or after this coming season. So, yeah, I just I think it's a good move for both teams, and I think it's one of those win-win trades where teams are in different places of their development where they're trying to go and winning. So it works for both sides. I love it. I give both teams an A on this, to be honest. It just works perfectly for both teams.
Yeah, going back to Milwaukee here for a minute, Dexter, it looks like Shams, ESPN, is reporting that Damian Lillard has played his last game in Milwaukee. So, I don't really know how this works with cap and things of that nature, but I mean, man, this is a pretty big failure for signing Lillard just a couple of years ago and acquiring him, and now using the money, I guess, to sign Turner. I mean, honestly, I don't understand how the cap works in this sense. In most sports, you have to eat some of this money. So, I mean, I don't know if you have an opinion on it. Sorry to throw it at you here, but it just happened.
No, it's fine. So I can explain a little bit of it, right? So how this works, Craig, is Damian Lillard is owed $113 million. That money is now going to be stretched over the next 5 seasons, which gives them a ton of cap relief because you're not having to pay him as much as you would per season. Tough break for Damian Lillard, who will still get all his money. Just want to be very clear. But tough break for him, obviously being injured. And now it makes me wonder, okay, what else are the Bucks trying to do? Who else are they trying to add at point guard to pair with Giannis Antetokounmpo? Because when you make this move combined with the move to sign Miles Turner, that kind of indicates to me that Giannis is probably not leaving, and they're probably thinking about doing something else. Now, what else that is or who else they can add, it's very interesting. The Bucks don't have a lot of trade assets, so this is very, very, very fascinating right now. But I think it indicates, I can't say for sure, you don't make this kind of move if you don't think that Giannis Antetokounmpo is staying, or you're not trying to keep him there because you want to free up some more space. So it's very interesting. But yeah, that's an experiment with Dame and Giannis that just didn't work. Both players weren't healthy at the same time. Obviously, a tough break for Damian Lillard in terms of tearing the Achilles, and now we'll be looking for another team to play with following next season.
Is Lillard out all next year?
Yeah, he'll be out all next season with that Achilles tear. He's gonna be out all next season, and that's what you don't see this as much, Craig. The wave and stretch, I should say, it hasn't occurred a lot, because a lot of deals are shorter in the NBA, and you're not having to see teams try to get out of bad long-term deals, deals maximum of 5 years. So now with this tells you the Bucks are still trying to win around Giannis, and they wanted to free up that money and get him a stretch big. I'm just very intrigued to see what's next for the Bucks. Fascinating last 10 minutes, I would say, of the NBA offseason right here.
Yeah, maybe some bigger trade is made. Let me end with the Atlanta Hawks. Seems like they're tired of being 500 and getting in the play-in, right? Like they've made these moves. They're going to max the cap out with Porzingis and Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Is it enough to compete in the East?
Listen, I think the Hawks made moves that should give them the biggest jump of any team in the East. Some people liked what Orlando did in getting Desmond Bane. I think the Hawks are now better than Orlando. I think they're deeper. I think they have more two-way players. I love them getting Nickeil Alexander-Walker. I like the trade for Porzingis. I like the core that they have. Now they also got Luke Kennard in there. I have some shooters. They have some guys who can play defense. Jalen Johnson is coming back. I think this is a good Hawks team. How it all meshes together will be interesting. They have some defenders that can protect Trae Young. But the key here is, Craig, how healthy will Kristaps Porzingis be?
Yeah.
If he's healthy, that's the key to this team. But I like what the Hawks have done thus far in free agency and reshaping their team.
Yeah, being in the middle is no fun. That's where the Hawks have been forever. Thanks again, Dexter, for coming on the show. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you, Craig. Thank you, man.
We all know a night out at the club in Vegas can get a little bit pricey, but I've got a tip that can save you a cover fee at some of the hottest nightclubs. All you have to do is sign up online for free with a credible guest list service. Then, just show up before 10:30 and check right in. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
No way that I'm betting on the Cleveland Cavaliers for any reason whatsoever.
No.
Ever. Like, when they had LeBron James, it was a different story. I think Spider's great. He's no LeBron. I don't see him carrying them to a title. And I don't believe in the Knicks at all. The Knicks never get it done.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Kevin Durant, at the age of 36 years old, after 17 seasons that he has played in the NBA DRS, is now on his way to H-Town.
I don't think it's a great move. I wanted him to go to a ready-made championship team full of a veteran roster and see if he can ring chase that way. Not to go to an organization on the come-up that if you just stay the course, and also, what better blueprint do we have than just staying the course than OKC, right?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of 15.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. NBA free agency is off to a hot start. NHL free agency seems to be around that path too, but officially begins in 45 minutes from now. Let's bring in Joe Madden for the rumors that we've heard and what we can expect over the next few days. Joe, great to have you back here on NewsWire. Let's start off with the biggest moves, and then we'll get to the champs here who seem like they're going to run it back again. But one of the bigger moves being reported thus far, the Toronto Maple Leafs trading Mitch Marner to the Vegas Golden Knights, who's also getting a new contract extension. What does this move mean in terms of making the Golden Knights better? We know that, Joe, they fell short this past season. They've been very competitive since coming into the league several years ago. Does this make them much better?
Oh, it absolutely does. Mitch Marner is a fantastic player out there, and I do think he'll be able to get over that playoff hump, and that's the struggles we did see with him with Toronto. He just wasn't able to show up in the playoffs, but the team as a whole wasn't able to get there either. So I do think Mitch Marner coming here to Vegas, he's going to have to show up right away. Not like when he first joined the Toronto Maple Leafs, where there was that time gap where he was able to get a little bit of reprieve. I think here in Vegas, the ownership is going to want him to show up big, and he will show up big for this team, and he's going to have such a better work lifestyle out in Vegas. You look at the Toronto media, they're so hard on those players, and in Vegas he's going to be able to raise his family, walk those streets without having media all over him.
Yeah, definitely a good point there. Now, for the Florida Panthers, Joe, as soon as they won the championship, as they were partying into like the 72nd hour, all of the players were saying that they were going to be back with the Panthers next season. We see that a lot in sports, but we don't really see that check being cashed, and it certainly has. Brad Marchand, 6-year contract. It's going to take him into his 40s. Aaron Ekblad is going to be back as well. It looks like Sam Bennett is too. I mean, Joe, this is sort of historical in sports to see players taking crazy discounts to try and win a third championship.
Yeah, between all three of these guys getting re-signed, they definitely did leave money on the table, especially Ekblad out there. But I do think their competitiveness, their willingness to take that pay cut to win really did come into play. Now, we look at Brad Marchand signing a 6-year deal, and yes, he's going to really be at the top of his limit of playing for his age. But you look at that 6-year deal, he might only play for 4. We just don't know how long he's really going to play. Florida might have to eat that money. But for Florida, their chance of three-peating here with Brad Marchand, Sam Bennett, and Ekblad is definitely there. Now, they are over cap at the moment, so there's going to have to be some movements before the season kicks off. But we know how those the IR can work, putting those players out there. It will be interesting to see how healthy Matthew Tkachuk is actually, or if he's going to be on that IR list at least to start the season.
Interesting point there. All right, now let's get to the Red Wings. Boy, they really need a boost. So they signed Patrick Kane to a 1-year contract, a fantastic player in the past. Can he kind of reclaim where he used to be?
He can. Patrick Kane is getting up there for, not for his age, but for how he plays out there on the ice. I do think Patrick Kane is a fantastic player, but he needs to really bring it this upcoming season. And I do think it's great for the Red Wings. They needed to sign Patrick Kane here and get him into the mix and have him really strong for them. So I like the move with Patrick Kane. We're seeing a lot of movement happening out there already today, and I do think the Red Wings won't be done.
Joe, what else is happening on the free agent wire today that you see that could be impactful?
Yeah, I think the biggest one is Demko out here getting a 3-year deal with the Vancouver Canucks. We know Demko was up as well, and you don't ever want to see a goaltender leave. Demko, when healthy, is a fantastic goaltender, and he needed to stay with them. We're also seeing Jake Allen being signed up with the New Jersey Devils, 5-year term, $9 million contract. Logan Stankoven getting signed up as well with the Carolina Hurricanes to an 8-year deal, $48 million. And then Connor Garland as well for the Vancouver Canucks. Now, he did sign a 6-year deal. That was a $36 million deal. So lots of movement happening out there. Vancouver definitely looking to make that push. I'm expecting a deal for Jack Eichel today. We know with Mitch Marner coming to the Vegas Golden Knights that Jack Eichel has probably been in the mix of conversations out there because they will definitely need him out there on the ice, expecting Mitch Marner to either be on that line with Jack Eichel or Thomas Hertl.
Great stuff, Joe. As always, thanks for weighing in on NHL free agency. We'll catch up again soon.
Absolutely.
All right, coming up next, it's time to dive into some Major League Baseball. Has Zach Wheeler put himself in a prime position to overtake Paul Skeens for the National League Cy Young? We'll tell you next. Also break down tonight's game. Can the Mets get it back going as they face off with the Milwaukee Brewers? A preview of that game. Our very own Joe Pisapia joins us next on NewsWire. Don't go away.
let's get down to business with the particulars. The Pittsburgh Steelers will get Jalen Ramsey into their defensive backfield. They'll get Jonnu Smith.
All this talk I'm hearing about they're going to trade TJ Watt, that's not happening either. Okay, so I don't think that's even remotely in the cards. All this talk today, he's next. I don't believe that. I think they're going to give him a new deal.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
I do believe that SJ now is the number one player in the world. The things that he can do from the point of attack, offensively and defensively, his ability to drive downhill and score in all three levels. And the thing I like most about this young man at 26, he's so humble. He's so humble. And that speaks to the whole culture of OKC that Sam Presti and Mark Daigneault has built. Humble team, folks.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Will Aaron Judge be at the top of the home run board in MLB? What say you?
Judge probably is going to hit 55, 58. Somewhere around there is be his number there. So I'll say I'm going to buy this. Aaron Judge will lead the major leagues in home runs this year. Listen, I'm not breaking news. I probably would take that every year. And when he plays, this next couple until he's getting up there in age, until his bat does start to slow down.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Kevin Durant, at the age of 36 years old, after 17 seasons that he has played in the NBA DRS, is now on his way to H-Town.
I don't think it's a great move. I wanted him to go to a ready-made championship team full of a veteran roster and see if he can ring chase that way. Not to go to an organization on the come-up that if you just stay the course, and also, what better blueprint do we have than just staying the course than OKC, right?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back to NewsWire, host of Fantasy Sports Today on Sunday mornings. Joe Pisapia joins us now, of course, pretty soon. I mean, Joe's already getting his fantasy black book out there for football season, and now it's going to be time for football before we know it. But, Joe, could we mix in a little baseball here before we go full board with football? I know usually July 4th is kind of the time that people start, looking into it. In fact, you know what, Joe? I'm glad I was going to text you today. You know what? Aside from all of this, at the end of the show, I'm going to ask you what I need to do today. I actually was going to text you about a football question. I'm going to save it for the end and not ruin Frank's whole segment here. All right, so let's do let's start off with baseball here. So Zach Wheeler has moved from about 6-7 to 1 to win the Cy Young down to plus 350 after striking out 10 yesterday in 8 innings for the Philadelphia Phillies. I don't think this race is over, Joe. I really don't. I think that with the way that Wheeler is pitching, he's been the best pitcher in all of June. I don't think anybody else outside of Skeens and Wheeler can win the Cy Young, but has he really made his claim for this to be close? Plus 350 seems like really generous here to be able to get with the way that he's going.
It does. Skeens was kind of that phenomenon coming into the year, but my preseason wager for National League Cy Young was actually Zach Wheeler. That was the guy that I invested in. I thought he was the best position, and my concern was win total at the end of the day. Like, Wheeler could be in a place, theoretically, I thought going into this year where you could win 18 games, and I thought, maybe we could scratch double digits for Skeens. I don't know, Craig, if we can scratch double digits for Skeens. And I know wins don't matter anymore. We want to throw all that out the window and all that kind of stuff. But they do matter a certain extent, and nobody has ever won the Cy Young with less than 10 wins. The only two guys that have won it with 10 wins was Eric Gagne, and he was a reliever, and Willie Hernandez in 1984, also a reliever. Mm-hmm. So I think it's going to be a very upward hill battle for Paul Skeens to win this award. I really do. I know the Pirates have won 4 in a row. I know that's been kind of a fun story in baseball right now the last couple of days. First time they've done that all year. But at the same time, Wheeler's just set up in a much better position. I actually thought Logan Webb was an intriguing third guy in this mix. Last night was not the best start for him, unfortunately, but there is a lot of season left. I'm going to stick with the horse that I had going into this year, which is Wheeler all along. The only concern I have with Wheeler is the bullpen of the Phillies, but I do think that's something they're going to address in the month of July. And when they do, that can only mean potentially more wins for Zach Wheeler in August and September.
Yeah, Ranger Suarez, his teammate, also having a really good season as well. Okay, so the National League looks like this. Honestly, not a lot different even when we were running through the Mets playing well, I mean, all things considered, they're playing their worst baseball, and they're still only a couple of games out, Joe. Dodgers are 53-32. Phillies 50 wins, Cubs 49, Mets 48. The Brewers have had the surge. They're up to 47 wins on the season. I know there's a lot of panic with the Mets, Joe, but look, you've been doing this as long as me. I mean, these teams go through bad weeks, bad months. I mean, the Mets and Yankees both had bad months of June. Do you panic at all when you see this sort of stuff? I don't know. I think the Mets will be fine.
I do agree that the Mets will be fine. There's no panic for me, but at the same time, I think the Mets have to be careful they don't get too self-indulgent. You know, Clay Holmes is a good example, a guy who's had back-to-back years of 63 innings, and now in terms of innings, we've already crossed 88 for him. So he's starting to wear down a little bit. You've had multiple injuries now, Senga, McGill, and now recently Griffin Canning to this rotation. And I know Stearns is a genius finding these arms, bringing them in, and Jeremy Hefner being able to get what he's been able to get out of them the last couple of years. You saw the success of Severino, the success of Sean Manaea. Now, hopefully you get Manaea back soon. Hopefully you get Senga back soon. But I think you have to ask yourself the question, along with Peterson, is that enough? Is Frankie Montas really that answer? I was stunned by his 5 scoreless innings against the Braves. I was less surprised about his performance on Sunday against the Pirates. That's the Montas I was expecting. And I think for Steve Cohen, he's got a window here in the next year and two where you've got Alonso, you've got Soto, you've got Lindor, you've got a real opportunity, and you know he's going to be aggressive. So whether Stearns wants to or not, I wouldn't be shocked if the owner overrules here and goes out and gets some kind of star. The question is, who is that going to be? It would have to take maybe the Texas Rangers falling out of things for a big-time arm like Jacob deGrom to become available. Otherwise, it's the Edward Cabreras and Sandy Alcantara's of the world, and I don't know if the Mets view those guys as different makers with the way Alcantara's especially pitched, and I'm just not sure if Edward Cabrera is that much of an upgrade over what they have.
I don't think they're trading Alcantara to the Mets, Joe. I don't
know.
Start getting me angry here. I don't think that's
well, they've got the prospects to do it, and the Marlins are not going to compete in the next year or two. So if you can get an everyday position player, I think they should think about it. I get it in division. I understand.
Not to the Mets. They did trade Luzardo to the Phillies. All right, so the Brewers here. The Brewers, Peralta, Mizorowski, and Quintana the next 3 days. Mizorowski all of a sudden in the rookie of the year picture, which is sort of rare for him to get called up. We talked about other players like Caglione. I mean, this guy actually has a shot to do it. Those three basically will pitch this week. So Mets Brewers tonight. Any opinion on this game at all? I know you do your Fantasy Pros previews of the game. Any opinion on this one?
Yeah, look, I am right now on the money line of the Brewers with Peralta on the mound. He's actually been better on the road this year, and Peralta's a really solid pitcher, and the Mets right now are struggle bus. And I keep going back to that same thing about Clay Holmes, right? Holmes is a guy that right now I think he's getting a little bit of fatigue. Now, could he reset himself with a little bit of extended break? Maybe have the All-Star break coming up in a couple weeks. Do you skip him in that rotation and then kind of let him pitch on the back end of it? Maybe. Again, is that a solution that's going to help you in October? I don't know. So tonight, I think the smart money is still on the Brewers to figure it out. And Mizorowski, I'm not surprised at all. I remember talking with you on the show a few weeks ago, Craig. We were having a discussion about Agustin Ramirez and Drake Baldwin. I said, well, these guys have both hit the skids. I'm looking deeper. I'm looking at Mizorowski, who's not even up yet at 20-1, and some of these other guys. And luckily, that's what I was in on to begin with here. Can he hold on? That's the question. I think the answer is yes, because I think he's starting to feel like one of these must-see guys. And you and I both know when you have one of those pitchers that becomes appointment television, all of a sudden the media falls in love with them and they get a lot of attention, and all of a sudden they become locks for these awards. Chase Burns got lit up last night. I'm not surprised about that at all, because Burns is another one of those guys, to me, was just more of a thrower than a pitcher. Mizorowski is just such an uncomfortable at-bat. He's so tall. He's actually a foot closer when he releases the ball than the average major league pitcher, and that is a very uncomfortable at-bat for a guy who is already trying to hit a ball that's coming at him 100 miles an hour. It feels more like 108. And I think that is something that the rest of the league is going to have to deal with for a while here with Mizorowski, as long as he can continue to keep those walks under control.
All right, so I'm going to pivot away from baseball here for a minute and get your opinion on my dynasty fantasy football Superflex rookie draft. Okay, did you get all that? That's going on today.
I got all it. I'm ready.
Okay, that's going on today. So I have the 8th pick amongst the rookies. Okay? Okay. Superflex. And, naturally Genty's been taken, and Omarion, what's that guy's name?
Omarion Hampton's gone. Ted McMillan's gone. Travis Hunter's gone. I'm assuming all those guys, right?
Well, we haven't got there yet. Only 3 picks have gone.
Okay.
So here's my thing. Why? And again, I think my quarterback situation is like, okay, it's not great, but why would I not take Cam Ward in a super flex dynasty quarterback? Aren't those the most valuable people? Like, I'm waiting to see if I can get that guy. No?
They are, and I like Cam Ward. Cam Ward, I think, is a very serious young man who really cares. It's just whether or not Tennessee can develop a young quarterback. That's a big question I think all of us have. I don't think he's going to be there when it gets to you at 8. I think when it comes around to 8, you're probably looking more of Emeka Egbuka. Maybe you get lucky and Travion Henderson slips by. That would be an interesting selection too. I think Jaden Higgins, Caleb Johnson, 2 guys that could help you this year. Jaden Higgins was the only second-round pick ever to get a fully guaranteed contract. I think that means something. I think you follow the money there. And the Houston Texans really have a need there at wide receiver with Nico also a guy that could leave after next year. So they call him like a Nico clone. Higgins is a really interesting one. Trey Harris, I think, is going to make an impact this year. I think Caleb Johnson, if you need running back right now, basically has fallen into the perfect scenario in Pittsburgh where he is going to be that lead back. Jalen Warren's been 3 years in the league. He's never finished as an RB2. I think that story is done. So Caleb Johnson, Travion Henderson, I think those are the RBs, and plenty of wide receivers to pick from.
Okay, but if Ward is there, you take him over those, right?
If I'm quarterback needy, yes. If Travion makes it there, though, that's the one that's really intriguing. I think he is going to take over that backfield for the Patriots.
Okay, fair enough. Getting fantasy football advice on July 1st. Didn't think we'd be here, but here we are. Thanks again, Joe. Appreciate it. Speaking of the Steelers, Mike Blewitt.
Let's get down to business with the particulars. The Pittsburgh Steelers will get Jalen Ramsey into their defensive backfield. They'll get Jonnu Smith.
All this talk I'm hearing about they're going to trade TJ Watt, that's not happening either. Okay, so I don't think that's even remotely in the cards. All this talk today, he's next. I don't believe that. I think they're going to give him a new deal.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
I do believe that SJ now is the #1 player in the world. The things that he can do from the point of attack, offensively and defensively, his ability to drive downhill and score in all 3 levels. And the thing I like most about this young man at 26, he's so humble. He's so humble. And that speaks to the whole culture of OKC that Sam Presti and Mark Daigneault has built. Humble team, folks.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Will Aaron Judge be at the top of the home run board in MLB? What say you?
Judge probably is going to hit 55, 58. Somewhere around there is be his number there. So I'll say I'm going to buy this. Aaron Judge will lead the major leagues in home runs this year. Listen, I'm not breaking news. I probably would take that every year. And when he plays, these next couple until he's getting up there in age, until his bat does start to slow down.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Kevin Durant, at the age of 36 years old, after 17 seasons that he has played in the NBA DRS, is now on his way to H-Town.
I don't think it's a great move. I wanted him to go to a ready-made championship team full of a veteran roster and see if he can ring chase that way. Not to go to an organization on the come-up that if you just stay the course, and also, what better blueprint do we have than just staying the course and OKC, right?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Each and every weekend, get ready. Mike Blewitt is going to take over the SportsGrid network with coverage of the National Football League, but we're giving him a couple of months off still. Mike, you get your rest in, get your vacations in, because we are, basically almost there, man. The NFL preseason end of the month here on NewsWire and SportsGrid are going to be talking a lot of football, so it's great to get you back in the mix before we do it. Thanks again for coming on.
Happy to be here. Obviously, yesterday, not exactly a restful day for NFL circles, and certainly when everybody gets back into training camp, I'll be here with you as often as you need me. Big day yesterday for the Steelers.
Yeah, definitely so. And it feels like it's put up or shut up time, right? Like for the entire Steelers organization, there's never been a team I feel like that's more all in than this team going into the year. And they're going to look a lot different than last year, Mike, just not going to rely on that defense anymore. Aaron Rodgers is now the quarterback. Certainly they have DK Metcalf at wide receiver, Jonnu Smith, a trade for him yesterday too. So is this enough though to say that a team is all in? Mike, I mean, a lot of veterans, and it feels like anything less than a playoff win at this point will be a bust.
Yeah, I think it's a fair characterization to say that they are pushing their chips to the middle of the table, but I think it's also fair to question whether or not this team is good enough to warrant that type of response. Some people might call it a little bit of a desperate action, but I'm a Steelers fan too, so I'm seeing this from a couple of different angles. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is certainly near the top of where his game has been, and does the addition of him and some of these other players immediately launch them over the teams in their own division? Are they markedly better than the Bengals? Are they better than the Ravens? Are they better than the Bills or the Chiefs? Frankly, the Chargers and Broncos came on last year as well. So it's a highly competitive conference at the top. We could talk about the depth of the AFC versus the NFC, but clearly the playoff mix of teams that made it last year are going to be a challenge. Aaron Rodgers is going to be protected with some talent here and an offensive line that has been built up very significantly over the last 3 off seasons. Fautanu, their first-round pick last year, did not get an opportunity to play due to injury, so he's in the mix along with Broderick Jones and others, and that could create some good protection for Aaron Rodgers this season, in addition to the weapons that you mentioned.
Now, what about the trade for Jonnu Smith? Let's get into that here for a minute, because he was arguably one of Tua's favorite targets in Miami last season. Of course, Pat Freiermuth is already there. So, Mike, do you see a lot of 2 tight end sets here at quarterback? I mean, this is not really, is it the Aaron Rodgers offense having 2 big guys like this going over the middle? I don't recall seeing that in the past.
Fair question. I think it's more the Arthur Smith offense than it is the Aaron Rodgers offense, which is probably my primary question about this team as we head into this season. How much is Aaron Rodgers going to be allowed to be flexible with the types of plays he wants to call versus what Arthur Smith has done in both Atlanta and now in Pittsburgh? What is that going to look like? He's added Caleb Johnson. Joe Pisapia was just talking with you about the addition of Caleb Johnson and Jaylen Warren. That'll be a 2-back set. You have Freiermuth and now Jonnu Smith, whose one of his best seasons came with Arthur Smith at the helm in Atlanta. You have also Darnell Washington, a massive target at tight end. So they have depth at that position. DK Smith, Robert Woods, Calvin Austin is the wide receiving core. It's maybe not the most elite 3 starting wide receiver set, but there's depth there. That is this Steelers offense. The reality, Craig, is this Steelers offense is way better on paper this offseason than it was a year ago. Is it championship level? That remains to be seen.
All right. Finally, let's get to TJ Watt here. Some rumors that he may be a little unhappy wanting a new contract. Look, Mike, I know he's been a little bit banged up. I know his brother, that was the story at the end of his career too, but I don't feel that is the case right now with TJ Watt. And I would also say, Mike, and I know you're a Steelers fan, so it's hard for you to be unbiased here, but me being unbiased, I think he's the most impactful defensive player in the National Football League. Could the Steelers really even consider doing anything with him?
I don't think so. So you're right. I also consider him to be one of those elite players. The end of his season last year wasn't great. I think he was nursing some injuries, but by and large, he's been a healthy player throughout his career, very productive, obviously. We're dealing with a free agent, Craig, or we're dealing with it's not free agency necessarily, but an edge rusher market that is a little bit muddled right now. Myles Garrett reset the market at $40 million a year to stay with Cleveland, even though he threatened to leave. Now you have Trey Hendrickson, TJ Watt, Micah Parsons, all elite defensive players all looking for extensions at the same time. I think that's this is related to, is those three teams trying to figure out how to set the market post Garrett's signing. I don't see the Steelers being in a position to add these players and then trade their best player. He's their best player, not just defensively. He's the best player on the team. He's the leader of the team, and he's somebody that goes out there nearly every week and is able to play at a very high level. So I think they're trying to figure out what it looks like between him, Hendrickson, and Parsons, and who blinks first and who puts the money down on it.
All right, Mike, one quick thing before we go. J.J. McCarthy, we got a nice look at him at the preseason. We're going to get another look at him coming up in training camp here. Is this one of the more polarizing figures, you think, at signal caller going into the preseason?
I think that's fair to say. There's a lot put on J.J. McCarthy for a team that won a ton of games last year. They flailed at the last couple of games of the season, and now their starting quarterback is out the door. I wouldn't say that I was a huge fan of the Vikings taking him as high as he did, but Kevin O'Connell is a coach and offensive play caller that people have a lot of faith in. He's proven to be somebody that can really help to develop quarterbacks, and I think you have to give J.J. McCarthy the puncher's chance. I think the Vikings will compete in this division, but it's tough at the top. Lions and Packers, both legit teams, with the Bears, a clean sweep of the coaching staff and Ben Johnson leading Caleb Williams.
Mike, great stuff. Enjoy a little vacation if you could, because in a few weeks we're going to need you back. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, buddy.
All right, we'll take a quick time out here on the show, and we'll be back with more next.
Let's get down to business with the particulars. The Pittsburgh Steelers will get Jalen Ramsey into their defensive backfield. They'll get Jonnu Smith.
All this talk I'm hearing about they're going to trade TJ Watt, that's not happening either. Okay, so I don't think that's even remotely in the cards. All this talk today, he's next. I don't believe that. I think they're going to give him a new deal.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
I do believe that SJ now is the number one player in the world. The things that he can do from the point of attack, offensively and defensively, his ability to drive downhill and score in all three levels. And the thing I like most about this young man at 26, he's so humble. He's so humble. And that speaks to the whole culture of OKC that Sam Presti and Mark Daigneault has built. Humble team, folks.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Will Aaron Judge be at the top of the home run board in MLB? What say you?
Judge probably is going to hit 55, 58. Somewhere around there is be his number there. So I'll say I'm going to buy this. Aaron Judge will lead the major leagues in home runs this year. Listen, I'm not breaking news. I probably would take that every year. And when he plays, this next couple until he's getting up there in age, until his bat does start to slow down.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Kevin Durant, at the age of 36 years old, after 17 seasons that he has played in the NBA DRS, is now on his way to H-Town.
I don't think it's a great move. I wanted him to go to a ready-made championship team full of a veteran roster and see if he can ring chase that way. Not to go to an organization on the come-up that if you just stay the course, and also, what better blueprint do we have than just staying the course and OKC, right?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Boy, Giannis Antetokounmpo heading to social media. Doesn't seem to be too happy with the trade of Damian Lillard. Anybody telling me he's not playing next year? I don't know. Check that out on the site formerly known as Twitter, known as X. All right, you know who else isn't happy? A player formerly of the Miami Dolphins weighing in on the Jonnu Smith trade. You know who is happy? A couple of players that used to play Major League Baseball that are still getting paid. It's time now for some last licks. Jonnu Smith is headed out of South Florida. Man, was that guy good for the Dolphins last year. Great tight end play, catching touchdowns from Tua, catching touchdowns from their backup players too. Remember, there was a point in the season last year where Tua Tagovailoa came back and was basically a different kind of player, was just throwing a lot over the middle, didn't want to take sacks, so he threw with Jonnu Smith. He had a career year in Miami. The reward yesterday was him being traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and there is a player on the formerly of the Dolphins that is now on the Las Vegas Raiders that weighed in on the trade. That is former Dolphins running back Raheem Mostert, who also went to social media yesterday to say, hey, you play good for the Dolphins. The reward is they kick you to the curb and out the door. This is true. Raheem Mostert, who signed a one-year deal with the Raiders this offseason, also played pretty well for Miami as well. I guess wanted to stay in South Florida. I believe he lives in South Florida, but that was not going to be the case. Dolphins doing things a little bit different this offseason, and I don't think a lot of people had them pegging Jonnu Smith for a trade. Now, the question is, will Jonnu Smith get extended by the Steelers? That could probably happen in the coming days. Still remains to be seen. So Raheem Mostert, definitely not afraid to post on social media that he isn't really a big fan of the Dolphins organization. All right, today is Bobby Bonilla Day. For those of you unfamiliar, many, many years ago, the New York Mets liked to give away a lot of money in contracts. And the reason why they did this was because they wanted to defer their deals because they knew this guy named Bernard Madoff who thought that he could just help them make a lot of money by not paying their contracts a lot of money over the course of time. Yeah, go ahead. Pay Bobby Bonilla $1 million until the year 2035. By that time, you'll have made so much money with me that it won't hurt at all. Didn't go that well for Bernard Madoff. Didn't go that well for the New York Mets. So another $1 million plus paid to former big leaguer who hasn't played in the big leagues in 20 years. Bobby Bonilla, over $1 million today. He got paid. He got his check. He got that direct deposit. July 1st, every year through 2035, Bonilla continues to be paid by the New York Mets. I guess they didn't suspect anything was fishy at the time. All right. Now, Bobby Bonilla, why are we talking about him when he's not the only one? It's also Manny Ramirez Day. That's right, folks. In case you missed it, Manny Ramirez, who hasn't played for the Red Sox in, I don't know, probably 10 years, he's getting paid $2 million this year because he was owed by the Red Sox as part of his deferred contract. Now, the good news for the Red Sox is they only have to pay him this year and next year. And then Manny Ramirez doesn't get paid anymore. So Bobby Bonilla has the better deal out of the two of these players. But Manny Ramirez, $2 million. His payment is made today. By the way, Shohei Ohtani gets $2 million this year, too. A lot of deferrals going on these days by the Los Angeles Dodgers in Major League Baseball. But the Red Sox a little bit smarter with Manny than the Mets were with Bobby Bonilla. But I guess, look, they're making documentaries and movies about this guy Madoff. So he had everybody convinced at the time before it turned out to be a big Ponzi. All right, that'll do it for the show today. Thanks to Mike Blewitt for coming on the program, and also thanks to Joe Madden, Joe Pisapia, and Dexter Henry. Those were our guests here on the show today. Coming up next, we got Smiley Kaufman in the house talking some golf. That's followed by Pharrell Coast to Coast with the latest in Major League Baseball from 3 to 6 tonight with a preview of all of the games. Then we've got Front Office Sports from 6 to 6:30. That's followed by our Game Time Decisions show from 6:30 to 8. From 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. tonight, it's in-game live game day. And then Gabe wraps up NHL free agency, NBA free agency, and all the results in Major League Baseball. That is tonight on Sports Rage. That's coming up this evening. Also, thanks to our director, Luke, and for my producer, Frank, I'm Craig Mish. We'll be right back here with another edition of NewsWire tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern. And also, don't forget, we'll put a bow on the first half of the Major League Baseball season. Will actually be 81 games into the season. That's halfway through. This coming Saturday, me and George Kurtz have a first half recap of the fantasy baseball season before we kind of turn the calendar over to some football. That's coming up this Saturday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern. Also, programming reminder, July 4th, we'll be celebrating here at SportsGrid. There'll be no NewsWire show, so we'll wrap up our week on Thursday. Have a great rest of your Tuesday. See you back here tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern for our next edition of NewsWire.